Namaste. Huh? No, I'm not gonna put it on repeat. I shouldn't. I just wanna be everything so I can give it my all. Oh, I just wanna love you anywhere. So everything can just fall into my heart. Paradise. Baby, I see all I want when I look in your eyes. And baby, that feeling so right. Missing you each and every day. And want you each and every day. What's up, y'all? It's Wednesday. We're talking healing and business, per usual. I usually do this during the day, but some of my good people them was like, yo, I'll be up at 11:30 in the morning because it's quarantine, and you know they be sleep by 9 o'clock in the morning. So I decided to do one a little bit later than usual, just to dedicate to those people. Hopefully they tune in. I did this kind of last minute again because, you know, I'm grown and I do what I want. I'm just waiting for a few more people to come in. Probably not, who knows. Song in the background is Oxytocin's new single, So Right, on all streaming platforms. It's a bop. Last week, no, not last week. When did I do it? It wasn't last week. It was last week. Last Friday, I spoke about grief and losing people. So today I decided to talk about accepting love in your life, healing and all that stuff. It's healing and business conversation per usual. So we're going to talk about accepting love, the things that I did to kind of accept it, and I'm still working on it. Like everything that I'm talking about are things that I'm still working on. So, hey, Shane. Things that I'm still working on. I'm not no expert, but I thought that sharing my stories with people, starting to create a platform to have like these open conversations with people was like good for me, and probably gonna help somebody down the line as well. So I thought, why not talk about love and accepting love, because like I said, I talked about grief last week, and I don't want to be too like sappy about negative stuff, because we already got like things going on. So trying to flip the switch and talk about things that we like, talk about things that we enjoy. If you know me, then you know that I'm a sucker for love, period. I'm a sucker for love. So I wanted to talk about like my healing journey about that, and just where I'm at right now with it. Something that I noticed is that like the way that you love comes from, you were taught the way that you love. You were taught some way, somehow, whether it was verbal, whether you just seen it, the love that you have within the house that you grew up in, that all plays a role into how you love other people, how you love yourself, how you maneuver in relationships, both platonic and, you know, other relationships as well. Because if you don't take a moment to kind of figure out how you love people, then you won't know how to be in a healthy, loving relationship. I think that's like very important. Like you always have to take a look at things from a different perspective, because a lot of the love that you know didn't start from you. It started from the people around you. So that's pretty much what we're talking about today. We're just talking about like accepting love and healing and whatnot. So I kind of want to start out with, there's something that I've been looking into a lot, is like the 5 love languages. And I think starting off with that will be really good because people don't understand that there is a language to loving somebody. What's up? Because there is a language to loving other people, loving yourself. There is a language. So the 5 love languages are words of affirmation. Yeah, words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, physical touch. Those are all the those are the 5 love languages. And to be honest, for me, it took me. I didn't understand my love languages until last year. Honestly, last year, like the beginning of the new year, probably like the end of 2018, 2019, early 2019. That's when I really started understanding my love language. Yeah. I had to learn my love language because of the circumstances that I was facing at the time. There was a lot of people around me that were just not for me, and it was because I didn't understand. We didn't understand each other as far as like love go. We didn't understand that the love that I give is different from the love that I'm receiving, but it's still love in a different sense. Granted, it was a little unhealthy, but understanding my love languages and other people's love languages has helped me balance things out. So awareness is something that really helped with everything that I've been doing, like being aware of how I love people, how I care for people. I know that me personally, and if you know my mom, I speak about this all the time. Like my mom is like a giver. She is a lover of all things. She is the sweetest thing ever. She gives, and her expectations as far as receiving goes is bare minimum. And I get that from her. So the way that I love people, that's what I do. I don't receive gifts necessarily, but I give them. I give gifts all the time, which I guess is like an act of service. Which is one of the love languages. And then my other 2 favorite love languages is quality time and physical touch. Like I love spending time with my friends. People can tell you that. Like I love being around the people who fuck with me, and that's something that's important to me, especially when I'm in a place where I can't really function, or I'm like in a space where I'm like in my own head, where I'm like battling my inner demons and kind of figuring out like how to move forward with people and how to move forward in situations. Quality time has done a lot for me because that shows me it gives me like it fills me up a little bit. Spending quality time with people fills me up to a certain extent, and that's something that I know like is like a necessity for me. And physical touch as well. Like with my partner, with my like boyfriend, like I'm always sweating him. And that in my previous relationship, it was annoying to my previous partner, but in this relationship it's a little bit different. So I had to learn that the way that I love is okay, because some people don't see that. Some people don't because they don't understand your love language, they don't understand that some of it is like a necessity for you. So I had to get out of one situation and go into another one to really be like, oh, this is how I love people. This is how this works for me. This is how I'm able to show that I care. And my other thing is like cooking. I love cooking as well. So throughout the past like year, I had to really figure out like what is the love that I do want to receive? How do I view my future relationship? How do I view my partner? Even though my partner at the time didn't exist, what qualities am I looking for? And I really have to write those things down. I had to write down everything that I was looking for in a partner, and that was like an act of manifestation for me. I wrote down like almost everything to achieve, and it was more like internal stuff. I don't really worry too much about like physical attributes. I'm more about like the internal attributes. So like, do you have a relationship with God? Like, how are you with your family? Well, how do you express your different emotions and stuff like that? Because some people handle things differently. Some people, they are argumentative. Their love, the way that they express themselves, they express it through loud volume, and that's something that I personally can't deal with. But I didn't realize that until like last year. That's something like when people talk to me a certain way, I kind of shut down, and I had to learn that that's not healthy because expressing, I'm not expressing the fact that I am doing that I am shutting down. It took a while for me to get to that point. Let me pause this. So it's not helping me think. So writing down everything that I was looking for showed me that the person that I need to be with has to be a certain way, and there were certain things that I couldn't really tolerate for real. So I had to get into my own space and my own headspace and really figure out like why do I need said person, and what things um what things got me to this place where this is what I need in my partner. So a lot of it tied to the things that I've lacked as a child, for real. So the things that I lacked as a child reflects into the person that I'm looking for sometimes. But that's something that I had to learn, and I had to express that. I had to really like I really had to take the time to look into everything that I went through. So being aware really did help me figure out like, okay, this is something that I am okay with, this is something that I'm not okay with, and this is how I can kind of fix it. Because it does take some time. It is a time consuming thing. Healing does take a lot out of you, spiritually, emotionally, sometimes even physically, mentally. So I had to really like sit back and heal from one situation in order to realize like what I can allow in my space and what I shouldn't allow in my space anymore. So allowing allowing someone to actually come in to my life and give me all of these things, it took like a while, and it's still taking a while for me to accept, for real. It's hard like being in a healthy relationship after you've been in something that hasn't been as healthy. And I'm still trying to work on this, very much still trying to work on it. But it's because very I've been very verbal about the things that I've been through, because I know that being honest for me helps me now, helps me figure out, helps me unpack the things that I need to, in order to figure out like how can I express myself verbally with this person. um and that's something that's still taking some time for me to do. That's something that we've been working on together. So having talks, we talk like all the time, so having those late night conversations about it, having those conversations about what happened to us on both ends, what happened to what is the reason why we move the way that we move in every relationship. For some reason I'm hella nervous today, and I'm usually not. I don't know why. um Maybe because he's here right now. So you have to learn your boundaries as well. I think that for me, like, I had no boundaries when it came to being in a relationship. I just gave and I gave and I gave and I gave until I couldn't give anymore, and that burned me out a lot in my previous relationship. So when I took when I had no choice but to not be in a relationship and date myself, it really showed me the things that I enjoy about myself and why I'm so fire, to be honest. Like, there's no in between. Like, I'm a pretty dope person. I'm going to my own horn. I'm a pretty dope person, and I think that I didn't remember that I didn't understand how dope I was. I didn't understand how fire I can be. And when I'm in the best mental space, I'm pretty much like unstoppable. But the lack of understanding in my previous relationship definitely took away from the person that I'm meant to be, or I was meant to be at the time. I wasn't my full potential self. I wasn't honest. I wasn't open. I was very timid and shy, and I stayed away from like intense conversations and conflict. Confrontation was like not my thing at all. Like I couldn't confront people for my own benefit. It was hard for me to express that something was bothering me. And then after said relationship, I was low key confrontation mommy, or I was very like transparent and very honest to the point where in some cases it did make people uncomfortable. And to be honest, I didn't really care too much because I had to go from not speaking at all or not speaking up for myself at all to speaking up about everything that I was feeling, or bottling it in was not an option for me. It just wasn't an option for me anymore. I couldn't hold in any of my emotions because I am an emotional person. I do deal with my emotions all the time, and I am an empath as well. So not only am I dealing with my emotions, but sometimes I'm dealing with other people's emotions too. So that takes a lot out of sis. It does take a lot out of sis. And being that person and understanding my worth for real allowed me to really analyze what I want next and what I need next in order for me to be okay. And I had to, like I said, I had to go from not being able to express myself to expressing myself all the time, and then now kind of finding like that safe middle, even though it ain't that much of a difference for real, because I'm not an evil person. So when I'm transparent with a light heart. So I'm being honest, but I'm saying it in a way where I don't want to offend anybody, because I think there's ways to express what you need to express without being negative, so to speak. Um, so that's what I've been doing a lot recently. That's what I've been going towards. I've been trying to grow in that aspect, because I feel like once you feel like you can't express something, then there's a problem within that situation. There's a problem within that relationship. Like, why do you feel like you can't be honest or transparent? And it comes from like the little things to the big things. The little things like, I don't like when you did this, and then figuring out like, why did it bother you. Sometimes that's a conversation that you need to have with somebody, and why did it make you feel that way, or how did it make you feel, and whether or not that's something that they realize that they did, like they did it intentionally, or it was unintentional, and they can find a way to kind of meet you in the middle when it comes to that. Because some people don't, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes people don't realize that they are causing you pain, and it's because like you're not being verbal about it. Like I said earlier, like you have to understand how someone grew up, and how they were loved, and how love was presented to them in their family. That's the first time that you see love, is within the household. How they handle their siblings, their relationship with their parents, all of that plays a role into your relationship, whether you like it or not. You know what I mean? How they carry themselves with those relationships will kind of show you how it'll be in your relationship with said person. So I had to figure out like, how do I define love, because I feel like everybody has like a slightly different definition, and that's because of like the things that you've been through. So you define love a little bit differently. Some people, crazy enough, some people like to be loud. Some people are okay with that. That's not something that I could deal with. You have to be with someone who is open to understanding you, and open to having those conversations with you, because understanding it's one thing for you to understand why you do what you do and how you move, but it's another thing for your partner to kind of understand it as well. They have to be able to be like, oh, they have to be also be able to be aware of how they're carrying themselves around you, without necessarily like changing who they are, but still considering your feelings and still considering the way that you move, you know. So we talked about like what made you feel that way and how they respond to certain things. Like I mentioned before, like some people respond in a more like argumentative way. Some people talk at you instead of to you. Some people need to be able to like express themselves in a loud manner before they can like bring it down. That's something, like I said, that's something that I personally can't deal with. I can't deal with anybody like yelling at me or anybody like talking loud at me, because I can like literally shut down. And then figuring out like what are you able to quote unquote like settle for. Settle for is like not a great term that I want to use, but that's something that you have to consider when you're writing down like the person that you want. Like we want the perfect person for ourselves, but is it realistic at the same time? So there's like a very thin line between that. You have to be realistic about the things that you want. It has to be like attainable, and don't get it twisted. There's things that I've written down that's like absolutely attainable, and honestly the list that I wrote down, me personally, my partner has met like, at this point is like 100% of the list. Like I said, my list did not include like anything like physical at all. Like physical attraction didn't include anything like that. It was more of like their internal being, like who they are internally and who they want to become and how they carry themselves and how they talk to themselves, how they love themselves, like all of that stuff, and how they treat me as well. Obviously, like how they treat me was just as important. So in my current relationship, I've always, because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a business person, I had to really let someone help. Because of the way that I grew up, I didn't accept a lot of help. I didn't ask for a lot of help either. That's just something that I did. I just didn't ask for anything. But this person, the way that this person grew up and the way that he views love in his life, or the way that he was exposed to it, is a lot different from what I was exposed to. So being able to do little things, from like making sure that I'm good, making sure that I ate, making sure that I got everything I need as an entrepreneur, like all of my supplies and where are my supplies going and how they're getting to where I am now, like all of those things that he takes into consideration, even to like my eyesight as well. And that's something that has been like a small but very, very important thing. Like I have to wear these blue filter glasses because I'm starting to get headaches because of my eye situation, and my partner always makes sure that I have them on. If I don't have them on, I'm on my computer. He's like, hey, put them on, because he knows that if I don't, then my head is going to start hurting and I'm going to get cranky and blah, blah, blah. And he always makes sure I'm fed too. Did I mention that? Always. We always eat. It's always lit on the side. So just like the 5 stages of grief, there's also like 5 stages to love as well. And those are like attraction and romance. Reality sets in, so that's like the accepting of the relationship. Disappointment, stability, commitment. So you know how in the beginning of the relationship you're always like, oh, the honeymoon phase or like the puppy love phase or whatever. All of that is it's new and it feels good, and you have to learn. You're in the process of learning that person, and this is where like the communication plays a big part. You have to communicate, like you have to be open to communicating the things that you've been through, the things that has happened to you. Communication, when you have open communication and then you understand what they've been through, that's when reality can set in for you. That's when you realize the things that has happened to them affects the way that they carry themselves in the current relationship. And sometimes there can be disappointment. Sometimes there's a point where you're like, oh, okay, I get why that happens. And honestly, like, no relationship is perfect either. No relationship is like 100% good all the time because of things that you guys have to face together. There's always going to be like a roller coaster, but how are you guys handling that roller coaster is like the most important part, for real. So I think within my relationship, it hasn't been anything like crazy where it's like we don't believe in breaks anyway, so that's a dub. But it hasn't been anything that has taken a huge toll into our relationship because of the open communication that we do have. Like, we try to make sure that we speak about everything that we feel in. We don't really hold on to anything at all. We don't let things bottle up at all. The moment we feel something, we express it then and there. And then if we have to have a conversation about it, we handle that as soon as possible, because that's just something that we have to do for us to like be able to move in this relationship and be comfortable in this relationship. We avoid trying to walk on like eggshells. That's not something that we want to do at all. We're not trying to walk on eggshells in this relationship at all. And then stability and commitment. It's definitely something that we're understanding, because he's working during this pandemic and I'm working, but working on my businesses, and that has definitely, he's the kind of person that's like, you're good, like, handle your business, try to get where you need to go. I'll be here if you need me, even though like I'm still getting money coming in, but it's not as much as I'm used to. So there's a difference. Oh, they are here? Oh, snap. There's a difference in the way that we communicate with one another. Excuse me. Was that what I was trying to say? There's a difference into how we communicate with one another about like our finances and stuff like that. But he always makes sure that I'm good. So he always makes sure that I have everything that I need, and if I do need anything else, he'll make sure that he provides that for me. And the commitment part, committed all the way. This is what we're doing, and I'm definitely satisfied. But it took me a lot of time for me to be like, okay, I'll let you make me happy the way that you want to make me happy. I'll accept the happiness that you're trying to give, even though this was a lot sooner than what I assumed to happen, because we always have our own timeline, and then there's God's time. So that's honestly like what I really want to talk about, for real. Just like learning everything that you have to learn in order to be able to receive the love that you want. Oh, you finally off work? I'm about to end. My man. I guess we a little lit. I've been talking for a little bit. I was just talking about like accepting my current relationship and accepting the love that I have received, and making sure that I'm taking care of the blessing that I received. You missed a lot. You did. So, you know, it took a lot of healing for me. It took a lot of like unpacking for me to get to this point, of being able to accept the love that has been given to me. But it's an ongoing process. It never really stops. It never really ends. It never really slows down. The healing process doesn't slow down. The whole accepting doesn't slow down, because there's a lot more that we're gonna end up going through, mainly good, and probably like a little bumps throughout the road as well. But things that, without like communication, without the foundation that we've built, it wouldn't work the same. So I had to accept the fact that I deserve love as well. And that was another big thing. I had to really be like, okay, this is for me because this is what I've been working towards. This is for me because this is what I actually deserve. This is not a trick. I am being tricked right now. And you know, it really makes a difference in your life For real. Like once you love yourself, once you accept love and be open to allowing people to love you back, for real. That's what it really, really boils down to. But it does, there's a lot of like self work that had to be done before I could get to that point. And like I said, it's still something that I'm working on. I'm not perfect. I'm not 100% there yet. I'm always going to be glowing and growing. So luckily I have someone who is helping me along the way, and I don't have to do anything alone anymore. That's always a blessing. Right. Bye. Yeah, you have to, all the relationships, like I said, like the platonic ones as well. There's also unhealthy people that you may have to reevaluate in your life. You have to like look at them and be like, okay, is this how I want to be loved as a friend as well? Is this something that I'm gonna be okay with, for real, for real? Um, your friendships really does show you like where you are in your life. It shows you like if you need to switch things up, if you need to shake things up a little bit, you know what I mean? For me, like I had to get with God and then be like, okay, I need more friends that are a little bit more in tune with that, because being around people who aren't, that leads to like easy temptation, and that leads to me doing things that I don't really do unless I'm around said person. And I let a lot of people go the past like couple years, just growing into the woman that I am becoming and the wife that I'm gonna be. Period. Um, yeah, y'all, that's really it for me. That's all I really wanted to talk about. I'm gonna go live again on Friday. We're gonna talk healing and business per usual. If you guys don't know, I'm working on my subscription box and it's gonna be lit. And I'm excited. Good night, y'all.